Welcome to the H series of webinars. This series is aimed at new and aspiring sheep producers to give them a step up into the Queensland sheep industry. This husbandry webinar is part 5 of the series and explores the basics of landmarking and pain relief options available to the sheep industry. This part of the webinar was delivered by landmarking contractor Tom Perkins on the 23rd of July 2020. This is clip 2 of 6 and covers what to do when landmarking and how to do it.
So, yeah, looking at what to do and how, we'll start up the top with the ears. So the ear tag to start with, and I've included a couple of photos there, the two main options with your ear tag, a flexi tag or a flock tag, and just talk to your local merch man or woman. They'll definitely point you in the right direction there. Correct placement, put it, as that picture shows, it's not a great picture, but it gives you an idea, sort of in the middle of the ear, facing forward, too close to the head, and the tag will be hard to see when they're in the draft with the wool, too close to the point, and they'll flick around the back and they become even harder to see when they're running 100 mile an hour through the draft. So it's pretty important to get that right, I believe. I know it's only a simple thing, but if you get it right, well, they're done for life then. So the Mules option, I've listed that too. That is available now for sheep. It's not actually mandatory yet in Queensland as far as I know. I know other states it is. Probably will go that way. They are a little bit more expensive, but yeah, there's definitely that option, and there's a lot of good management tools around that can be used. And then, yeah, the ear mark, I mean, they're pretty self-explanatory. A station ear mark, the main thing there is just to ensure your pliers are sharp, and the best time to sharpen them is the day after you finish landmarking, and then they're right, for the following year. So that's the ears. Moving down to the castration, obviously for ram lambs, you've got two options there: the lastro rings as shown in the picture, and the castration knife. Yeah, I think probably 90% or more producers would sort of use the rings. They do a good job, and probably only looking at 1 in 1,000 or maybe even less a break. So you're going to do a good job with the rings. I've just listed their stag management. You're always going to get the odd stag come through with only one testy dropping down the purse. There's a number of different ways to approach that. I've sort of, in my experience, if you just put 2 tags in the ear of that animal and then manually cut that one testy out, that'll leave the purse there. And if that other testy that's up high drops down, well, then it gives you a chance to remove that one when you wean. Would be my management with the stags. And they're just written there, ensure rings are clean. I will go through that later in the hygiene part of the presentation, but that's really important. Just, you don't want to risk the infection when you're landmarking, so just make sure they're nice and clean, the rings, and out of dust and other foreign matter. Down to the tail, there's 3 options there. Again, the lastro ring and the cold knife are the 2 options, and the third one is the hot knife. There's a few different brands of hot knife. I think the New Zealand ones are probably the best, but and I would probably lean towards the hot knife as long as the conditions are right. The tails aren't too big and it's not too windy and it's running well. Well, it does a very good job. And the other thing that will affect or influence that decision is whether or not you're mulesing at landmarking time. Obviously, if you're mulesing, you've got to remove that tail. If you're not, well, then rings becomes an option. And I've just listed tail length there. There's a photo there from the MLA Producers Guide, which I think is attached to this webinar. You can download or view. Whether tail length on your wethers is not so much of an issue. They can be nice and short, but it's just your ewes. You really want that tail down to the tip of the vulva, as shown in that picture. So it's normally about the third knuckle down. That can be a little bit hard to determine if you're not experienced, but it takes 2 seconds to measure. You just hold your tail down there and measure to the end of the tip of the vulva and cut it off there. That just gives a bit more protection through their lifetime. So, and it will feel like the tail looks long, but they do shorten up after they've been docked, and then also if you're mulesing later on, they'll shorten again. So bear that in mind when you're actually landmarking. Moving on to mulesing, so there's 2 options there. You either do it at landmarking time or later on as sort of a weaner. I'd say the probably biggest influencing factor there would be the season. If things are a little bit tight at landmarking time where you probably wouldn't want to put them through that procedure. If things are going, obviously, and then if, things are going well, yeah, you can do them then. I guess there's pros and cons for both options. Doing them at landmarking time, obviously, you're only going to pick them up once. They're back on mum, they mother up, they mum's milk. I don't think they recover probably quicker that way. Cons for that then, I just don't think you get as good a mules when they're small. And then when you do them at weaning time, I guess the flip side to that, the pros are you get a good mules, but the cons are obviously you got to pick them up twice, and they probably take a little bit longer to recover. I've just listed in there right and left-handed shears. If you are purchasing shears or mulesing shears, your local merch store will normally, or 99 times out of 100, only stock right-handed shears. You can order left-handed ones. I'm actually left-handed myself. I've learned to use right-handed shears, but if you are looking for left-handed ones, I know you can order them from Western Australia. They do make them, but just be mindful of that. And then, yeah, your sharpening jig, they're pretty crucial when you're mulesing to keep that angle on your blade the same for the whole entirety of the lifetime of the shear, I guess. So that's the mulesing side of it.
Thank you for watching this short clip. For more information, please visit www.leadingsheep.com.au.